Have you heard of the Wagyu beef cutlet sandwich, which can cost as much as $200? It went viral on the internet as restaurants followed suit and started serving these most expensive sandwiches. Katsu means a breaded cutlet in Japanese. Tonkatsu, breaded pork cutlet, is very popular in Japan. However, in this Wagyu masterclass, we are using Wagyu sirloin. Of course, you can use other parts of the beef for this dish as well. For example, filet also makes great beef cutlets. Needless to say, you can most definitely serve this beef cutlet as it is. But for this lesson, I will demonstrate two serving variations. One is sandwich style, and the other is the Kushi Katsu skewer style. I will be teaching you many essential tips that are crucial for you to be made aware of. This is to prevent the ruining of this special piece of meat from deep frying. Preparation. It is important to wait until the sirloin reaches room temperature before cooking. Do not begin preparing it right after you've taken it out of the refrigerator. First, season the meat with salt and pepper. Sprinkle a good amount of salt as these seasonings tend to run off with the oil. These small pieces are for Kushi Katsu skewers. Salt and pepper in the same way. Breading. For the breading process, you need regular flour, beaten eggs, and breadcrumbs. Did you know there are several types of breadcrumbs? Size-wise, some are finer and others are coarser. You also have a choice between fresh, untoasted breadcrumbs or dry, toasted ones. Japanese breadcrumbs are called panko. They are made from the center of the bread, not the crust. Coarse breadcrumbs like panko result in a more crunchy and crusty texture once fried. Though fresh, untoasted crumbs are tastier than the dry ones, they are often more expensive and have a much shorter shelf life than the dried ones. To make a sandwich, it is important that the meat and the bread mesh together, almost becoming one. That's why the finer crumb is more suited for this dish. If you find the crumb particles you have are too large, you can make it finer with a mixer or a food processor. Some might wonder whether they should use dry crumbs or fresh untoasted ones. The cutlets made with fresh breadcrumbs are much more delicious. The downside? They are too crunchy for making a sandwich. So, if you're going to serve a cutlet as is, fresh breadcrumbs can be a good choice. First, dip the meat in the flour. Make sure you have covered the entire piece of meat. Remove the excess flour. Note, if this layer of flour is too thick, it will lead to the crust falling off once it's been fried. Don't forget, put the flour on the smaller pieces as well. Next, dip into the beaten eggs. Then, place it in the breadcrumbs and cover the meat completely. Make sure you get all the sides. These are the small pieces of Kushi Katsu skewers. Skewer them. You can use skewers like the ones you'd use for yakitori, or you can use small two-legged skewers like these. Deep fry the Wagyu cutlets. Turn up the oil temperature. Deep fry the Wagyu beef at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Place the beef into the oil. Note, the temperature of the oil will drop immediately after you add the meat, so turn up the heat until it reaches the original temperature you started with. Though the frying time is quite short, it does depend on the size of the meat and your preference. In this case, it can be as little as 1 to 1.5 minutes. This keeps the inside rare to medium rare. Take the meat out from the oil. Next, deep fry Kushi Katsu skewers. Put skewers into the oil. The oil temperature is 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Because these pieces of meat are quite small, the frying time can be reduced to about 40 seconds to keep the inside rare to medium rare. The cutlets are now fried. Making the sandwiches. Let's prepare the bread for the sandwiches. Cut the crusts off of the bread. You can leave the crusts on if you like. This is strictly a judgment call, whatever you prefer. I'm using 2 types of sauces today. One is mustard, and the other is a Japanese brown sauce mixed with sesame paste. Pro tip: by adding sesame paste, the sauce gets a unique character and creaminess. Coat one side with the mustard and the other side with this Japanese brown sauce. You can adjust the amount of sauce to your liking. Then put the cutlet on, followed by the bread. Before you make your cut, wait for a few minutes. Gently pat the bread into the cutlet. We want the bread and cutlet to become one. Cutting the sandwich. If you wrap it with a plastic film before cutting, this tends to help hold its shape, making it much easier to cut. Cut it in half. Hold it down lightly while the tip of the blade is pointing downward. Proceed to cut into 3 equal parts. Now, our Wagyu Katsu sandwich is ready to serve. Next, plating of Kushi Katsu. Plate them on a nice plate. Cutting it in half allows you to show the inside of the meat. As garnishing on top, you can put foie gras, caviar, salmon roe, or whatever you prefer. Another option is inserting various ingredients inside and deep frying them together. Now, our Wagyu Kushi Katsu skewers are ready to serve as well.